What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today's video is gonna be a little different, but it's still kind of related to the projects I got going on at the moment, like the mini drift quad or the mini bikes over here all in the corner. But if you kind of remember, if you watched the first video I did on my mini drift quad when I actually picked up like the frame and chassis for that, it ended up coming with a 6.5 horsepower motor, kind of just bolted up in there kind of sketchily, but it was just rusty, dirty, and didn't look good, and I was just kind of told it was for parts. I tried spinning the crank and the thing's just stuck solid, so I just kind of just pushed it off to the side, stole a couple parts off it when we painted up the motor for the mini drift quad, sitting up on the shelf over there. And when I actually taking this thing apart, I noticed it was actually a Honda GX200. So it might be kind of hard to tell, but there's a little tag right on the inside there, which actually lets you know what kind of motors these are. The 196, they're just kind of blank, but the Hondas, they show it on there. So I was like, damn, for a Honda, I might be able to get this thing running, because I know these things just live forever. The one I have on my off-road drag bike, I've had that thing for like 6 years and it's never gave me any problems, always starts right up. And if anything, I can kind of tear this thing down, maybe pick up like a new head or something if something's rusty or something, and just kind of place a couple parts together. So I ended up just picking up a little gasket kit real quick, just because I was able to get that pretty quick. I think it was like 10 or 15 bucks for a whole gasket kit. And I decided today I wanted to just start tearing this thing down, and the goal would really to be tear this thing down, maybe re-gasket a few things, see how bad this thing actually is. I know it's seized up, so I'm thinking there's some water in the cylinder just because it has been left with no carb on it, and the exhaust is kind of a little iffy, so I have no idea what's going on inside of here. I want to drain the oil out, take a look at that. I might even pop off the side cover as well, just to kind of get a little bit deeper look on the internals, see how rusty everything is, if it is rusty, or it might just be nice and clean in there. You never know until we actually tear this thing down. So I want to start by taking off a few things like the gas tank and the exhaust. Then we can start getting a look on how the intake port and the exhaust port look. Luckily, I can kind of look in there right now with a flashlight. It is definitely a little bit dirty and a little rusty, but I think if we spray some brake clean in there, we can kind of clean that all out. Luckily, the intake valve looks to be closed and it has an exhaust on it, so we might get lucky and not really have too much going on inside the cylinder. And it might just be going on inside the head, so if anything, we could kind of pick up like a cheap head for, I think, 50, 100 bucks and just swap it right on there. So you never know until we actually tear this thing down. So let's get to work on it, start tearing this thing down and see what we can get knocked out, and hopefully get this thing running so we can actually use it for any future project, or end up swapping like the mini drift quad with a new motor or just something else. So let's get to work on this, enough jibber jabber, and see what we can get done. All right, so I just pulled off the gas tank and the exhaust so far. Everything's not looking too bad, surprisingly, for how rusty some of these pieces are. All the bolts came out pretty solid, didn't have any issues with them. And looking into the exhaust port here, it's definitely dirty, it's definitely nasty. It's gonna be, let me see if I can grab a light real quick. See if we can get a better look inside of there. So, kinda can see inside of there. We definitely got some white oxidization inside of there and a little bit of dirt down by the valve, but from what I can see, the valve is shut, so I'm feeling pretty good on this one. I'm feeling 50% lucky that we might be able to get this thing running. And now you can actually see the badge on there. It says Honda GX200. So this is a genuine Honda. So let's see how reliable Hondas are and see if we can get this thing started up today. I think next I'm gonna just clean out this bird's kind of nest up inside of here by the spark plug and pull the spark plug out and see if we can maybe crank this thing over. Maybe it's just got some water in the cylinder that's kind of holding it up, so you never know. So pop that off, get that all cleaned up, and I might even spray inside the intake and the exhaust port real quick, just see if I can spray some brake clean in there and kind of push a lot of the stuff out instead of it getting sucked back inside the motor there. Got you guys set up on the tripod. I just want you guys to see how much dirt actually comes out of this, so I'm not having to explain it, but let's see. I haven't even sprayed anything in there yet. Not bad. Okay, not too bad. Pretty happy with that. Let me see, getting the light in there a little bit. Alright. It's at least holding the brake lane, so we know the valve is sealed, so that's a good sign. A little brake clean ain't gonna hurt anything. Let's clean off all this. Get some of this sticky shit out of there. I'm definitely gonna have to pull off this bottom cover and actually just clean this thing Oh shit, I'm gonna make a mess in here. Oh, shit. Ah, pretty happy with that. Now, let's do the exhaust side. Alright, the exhaust is not too shabby. That one's definitely a lot cleaner than the intake side. But, okay. It's a good sign so far. I'm gonna get her cleaned out a little bit. Let's get this spark plug pulled off of there. Let's see if any water comes out of there. Just got the spark plug pulled out. Let's take a look. Alright, the spark plug is not super rusty. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but it's not super rusty. Definitely a little, has some water on it, so it's not the best sign. I'm just curious, I don't want to shoot myself, but I'm just curious if I can. Nope, she's still solid. Alright, so that's not the best sign so far. Maybe let's, I don't really want to make a mess. Maybe let's try drain the oil out of this thing first, and let's actually see what is looking like in the oil, and then maybe we can pull the side cover off real quick. I got a little bit of a weird setup going, but it works. Don't get me at it for it. Got the engine put up on here in a chair, right under a bucket, and I just cracked the oil drain real quick. So got a little light set up there so we can actually see. Let's get you guys propped up so you can actually see what's going on too. Hoping it's not too bad, but my guess it's full of a good amount of water. Hopefully it doesn't go past the bucket, shouldn't it? All right, come on. Don't want to lose it. Oh boy. That is straight water. Oh shit. And that doesn't look the best either. Try and crack one of these open so we get a little bit more flow. Oh, this thing's full. Alright, I'm probably gonna leave that in for now and get you guys out of here because this thing's starting to splash a little bit. And that's just looking like some milky oil right there. Not good. Oh, not good. Right, after seeing that water and the oil mixture coming out of this block, I think I might be a little in over my head thinking that this thing's ever gonna run again, but I don't wanna give up on it. I tilted the motor back and I didn't have any water come out of the spark plug hole at all, so I'm not really sure where the water may come in from, maybe from the intake or something, or just the open valve cover port because it has no hose on the valve cover. So it could have been that. I know if this thing does run ever again, we're definitely have to pop the side cover off, clean that whole inside out, maybe flush the oil a few times, at least after a few runs. But I really wanna at least pull off the valve cover, maybe see how it's looking in there, maybe pull the head off as well, just cause it's like 8 bolts, pull it all off real quick. And just take a look at it. If the cylinder walls look pretty good, I think we might be pretty good on it, but you never know. We still gotta free this thing up because it's still pretty stuck. So I'm thinking there might just be a little bit of rust buildup on the cylinder, and we might be able just to kind of free it up if we get a breaker bar on the engine, on the flywheel side a little bit. So you never know, but let's see what we can do. Take this part a little bit more. Worst case, it's just scrap at this point, so it's not really that big of a deal. It's just me kind of wasting my time. Not even like 10 seconds after that last clip, I was just like, all right, let me just try something real quick. Let me set up a little ratchet with a 19 on there, just put it on the flywheel real quick and see if I could break this thing loose. And it definitely was a little tight and it wasn't the easiest, but we got movement. So that is a great sign right there. So we might be pretty good with it. And it definitely sounds like it's got some compression or it's moving some stuff around in there. So sounds good to me. Let's get this pulled off up here and let's inspect inside the valve cover real quick. I might not even pull the head off. I might just spray some WD-40 down there or something, maybe some Marlboro Mistral oil, maybe some ATF, and see if we can just kind of free up those rings a little bit. So I just ended up pulling the valve cover off real quick, and I think this is my sign of where the water was coming in from, because that port right there was just sitting there right open, and there's like a rust mark leaning right on down, and then following inside the head here. Let me see if I can get a light in there. You can see there's not really much buildup on the top or really the sides. It's really just that kind of center side there, more towards the left side on the exhaust side. So I think if I just kind of clean that up a little bit, maybe spray some brake clean in there, it can kind of clean up, rinse it out the bottom, and hope for the best and kind of see what happens. I'm just crossing my fingers with this because I know these small motors, they're just super reliable. You can pretty much throw anything at them and they just will always run. So kind of cross my fingers, but I think we're pretty damn close. So I think I'm just gonna go about cleaning some things up. I don't want to pull off the head, but I might have to. I think I'm definitely gonna pull up the side cover just so I can spray that out real quick, and it shouldn't be too bad, and then we'll take a look at how the insides look there. But I think we might be able just to slap like some sort of carb on this, slap a brand new spark plug in it, and spin it over a few times, make sure there's no rust still built up on the cylinder walls, get some fresh oil in it, and try and start it up. So I was just messing around, cleaning up inside of the kind of valve cover area a little bit, and then I wanted to see if I can actually get the motor to spin completely over a few times, and it just had this one hard spot where it wouldn't hit top dead center at all. So I had to just do it, pull off the head real quick, and she's pretty gross inside of there. So luckily the cylinder was up pretty much like all the way, so I could put it up to where it was. So the cylinder was about to that point right there, so you can see it is pretty kind of rusty and nasty in there. Luckily it's only on this bottom section here. On the top it's just kind of just has slight corrosion, but not really much. It's kind of just like surface rust, so I might be able just to clean that off. And the inside here I'm just gonna kind of wipe down as much as possible. I'm gonna do it a little bit of a sketchy way, so I'm gonna take a wire wheel to that top section there, only that first 1/4 inch. So hopefully it shouldn't lose much compression or any at all. I'm just kind of want to get that kind of hard rust off of there, so then the cylinder can come all the way back up, actually hit top dead center, and then hopefully it'll kind of clean it off from there. I don't think the ring should even hit that area too much. If they do, it's just gonna be like really that top ring. So we're gonna kind of cross our fingers on this and see what happens. I'm gonna clean that up, and as long as we can get it fully spinning over, no problem. I'm gonna just clean up as much as I can, maybe spray a little bit of brake clean down this hole down there, because that's where a lot of the water was kind of draining into the bottom of the block there. Try to clean out this as much as possible, pull off the side cover, clean that all out, put it all back together, and kind of just cross our fingers and see what happens. So let's get to work on it. Enough jibber jabber, and I'm tired of filming a bunch of little clips, so I'm just gonna get to work on this, get as much as I can. I might show you guys the cylinder after I at least wire wheel it real quick, but other than that I probably won't really film the inside, maybe a little bit, but we'll see. So let's get to work on it and see what get knocked out. Just finished up messing around wire wheeling the inside of the cylinder walls. Trust me, I know it's not the right way to do it at all. You're supposed to hone it and actually take it all apart, but this is like the quick and dirty way to do it if you don't want to take a whole engine apart and trust to see if it even will run ever again. And hopefully it won't really lose too much compression, but I was able to sand most of this away with the wire brush, and we finally have it fully able to go up and down without any issues, and actually feels pretty dang smooth. So moment of truth to really slap the head on there and see if we got some compression still. I think we should be fine, especially with the nice thin head gasket that came with that kit. I think we should be all right. So now I'm gonna start taking off the side cover, clean the inside of that out real quick, maybe shoot a little brake clean down there like I said, and just get this all cleaned up. I forgot to tell you about the head. The head actually looked pretty dang decent, surprisingly. It had a little bit of oxidization. I was able just to kind of wipe right off real quick, so I think that should be salvageable. The valves seem to be moving up and down whenever I was actually spinning it over with just the head on here still, so I think we might be good to go. Let's pull the side cover off, see how the inside looks there, clean it up a little bit if we can, maybe just spray some brake clean, kind of clean up a lot of the milkiness and kind of get a lot of that out as much as possible. Throw some fresh oil in it and see what happens. I'm gonna mark it right now. I probably have like a 20% chance of this thing ever running again, but I'm still gonna take my chances because I already have the gasket kit and I'm already this far deep tearing it all apart, so might as well try it. And worst that happens, I'm wasting my time as I said before. But I ended up taking the side cover off real quick, and she is looking pretty disgusting. So here's what the cover looks like on there, and then here is the engine. So you can tell that thing is disgusting, and it is just gloppy and filled up in there. Luckily I don't see any kind of rust going on up in there. I can kind of see a little bit of a heat spot right up on the rod there, so maybe the rod bearing might be bad, but you never know. So I guess just put this thing up on the bucket, spread this thing out with some brake clean, try to clean it out the best I can, replace the gasket, and slap this thing all back together, get the head popped back on there with a brand new head gasket, and get all the new gaskets slapped up on there, and spray some brake clean in it, try to fire it up. So I've been working away on the engine a little bit, pretty much almost got it all wrapped up from here. I think last I left off, I opened up the side cover and you saw how nasty it was inside of there. I ended up just brake cleaning the hell out of that, getting pretty much 99% of it all out. It was always just that little bit of residue that's just kind of hard to get out. And if anything, if this thing does run, we'll at least flush it out with some next oil change, at least do an oil change like pretty dang frequently on this thing, at least within the first couple. But everything looked pretty good. Ended up sealing up the side cover from there, and then I ended up slapping on the head as well, slapped on a brand new head gasket and set the valve adjustment and the valve lash and all that, just so that's all good to go. And it's all looking pretty good. So this is actually looking so far. So we've got the side cover sealed up, got the head on there, got a newer spark plug put in there, and just turn this thing over a few times. You might be able to hear. Does sound like we got a good little bit of compression in there, so that's a good sign at least. So now we can just kind of put the valve cover on there, slap like a used carb, really just something I can spray some ether through and not it be at full throttle. Slap the muffler back on there and see if this thing will start. I am just gonna slap this old valve cover back on there. It is pretty nasty, and if this thing does run, I will replace this ASAP because inside of there is pretty gross, but this will at least seal it up for now and at least see if it'll run. I ended up cleaning off most of the stuff that will kind of like fall off, so we're not putting more junk inside of this motor. But other than that, I think we should be good to go. So let's get it all finished up, slap some ether in it, and finally start this thing up finally, and I can stop talking about it, trying to start this thing. So I just ended up knocking out everything else, got the new, or really the old exhaust all slapped up on there, got a newer carb that I just kind of found lying around. I don't think it has any jets in it or anything, but I'm just gonna be spraying some starting fluid into it, so it don't really matter. Then just put a little intake, kind of just make it easier to spray some ether in there, no problem. And everything's looking good, filled it up with some oil, so it's finally time to start this thing up and see if it'll actually run. I didn't check if we have spark or anything, but who knows, who cares, we'll see. If it doesn't end up firing, I'll check spark. If we have spark, then it might just be bad compression. So I'll probably just set you guys up on a tripod right around here, and I think I'm gonna end up putting a little socket right on the drill and just trying to do it through the crank, just so I'm not sitting here with a pull start, keep messing with it and struggling, trying to start it. So it'll just make it easier, slap it on a drill, spin the thing right up real quick, and see what happens. So let's get you set up and let's try to start this thing finally. Finally, moment of truth. Got a drill set up with a socket in there, so we can just spin this thing over real quick, spray some ether in this thing, and see if she'll start. I'm gonna open the choke up when I do this. And let's see. All right, I think it might have fired. That drill definitely doesn't like it. Alright, one thing I can notice is my intake is not bolted down all the way. Alright, hopefully that should do it. I don't want to spray too much in here. Weird. I'm gonna pull the spark plug out and see if we have spark. Might be a little sweaty, so don't mind me. But we ended up checking spark. Everything's looking good there, so we got spark, no problems there. So I ended up just slapping on a different style intake, like a stock style, just to try to seal it up a little bit better with the carb and everything, make sure it's actually sealed to the block and all that. So I'm gonna try again, see if we can just shoot some ether down here and see if we can get this thing to start. I haven't even set up my drill yet, so let me do that. 19. Alright. Let's open the choke up. Let's give it full throttle, not maybe 40. Give this a throttle. smooth. 2. Hold on. Let's leave the choke open. It's definitely running. I don't think it's running the best, but let's see. You guys hear it start. I'm not the only one going crazy. Alright, I should probably open the garage after all that. But it fucking runs! Holy shit! Alright, let me compose myself a little bit and then I'll get back with you guys. Sorry for the AC noise, but had a second to compose myself, kind of wipe some sweat off, but I'm stoked with how this thing came together and it actually runs. After doing all that work and really just cleaning it out, cleaning the rust off the cylinder walls with a wire brush and the drill, setting the valve lash, slapping some used carb on it and spraying some starting fluid in it, started right up and ran good. You guys just saw I was just spraying starting fluid in it and revving it up and it just stayed running perfectly. So I might look into getting like a newer carb onto it so then I could kind of set up like a little homemade gas tank with like a water bottle, see if this thing will actually idle and run on its own without any issues. And if it does, she's a good candidate for the next project. I'm not gonna lie, Honda reliability is definitely getting to me because for doing all that and this thing being a Honda, that thing runs mint. I know these small motors, they'll literally run on anything and they'll live forever. So it doesn't really take much work to clean these things up a little bit. And I am stoked. $15 gasket kit, clean this thing up. I just need to slap like a side cover on it and maybe like a pull start and this thing will be all good to go for the next project. It's got a 3/4 shaft so we can use that for some different projects with like a clutch or a torque converter. So I am stoked on that. I can't wait to actually use that on another project or even swap it onto like the mini ATV or one of the mini bikes. But I know I just painted up this engine in last video for the mini ATV, so I probably won't do that right now, but later on, you never know. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, just messing around, seeing if we can get a pretty much junk scrap engine running again. And we did, which I'm super stoked on. I can't wait to use that because Honda, gotta have a Honda motor, and just they are worth some money, more than the Predator, so I can't really complain. Maybe just clean that one up a little bit, might be able to flip it, so you never know. But hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, hope you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more content, and peace out.